share the show with a friend, get a cup of coffee or beer, and let's debate tonight. We'll be right back.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jar.
A good friend.
We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. This is Focus on Liberia, and this is Friday Night Debate with me, your host, Dennis Jar, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In tonight's edition of Friday Night Debate, we're going to be looking at some current issues. Guns. There were some guns discovered, and since then, where are we going? There have been other latest development surrounding guns. We're going to look at that topic tonight and see. Some people are alleging that this could be an atomic act. Is that true? Or we are going to miss some important things because of our suspicion of the government. That is one of the things that's on the menu. Also, the CPP We Are Tired Suffering rally, at that time on the eve of We Are Tired Suffering rally, $70,000 got missing, and it was believed that the driver of the chairman of the rally absconded with that money. Since then, there have been investigations. What is the outcome of such investigation, and where are we with that? The one accused of absconding with the $70,000 is talking. He's not quiet. What is he saying? We're going to discuss that. Also, there have been a lot of VP choices announcement, especially for the Unity Party standard bearer, Mr. Joseph Nima Boakai. Who is he picking this year, or is he going to go nuclear on us again? We're going to be discussing that. And Nathaniel Fala McGill, the sanctioned former Minister of State for Presidential Affairs, is in the news. He is just returned from Ghana, and he was met by a rousing crowd. Also, people are alleging that he's doing some things in the CDC to flex his muscle. We're going to discuss that. More and more, we're going to be talking about the Western Cluster. The Western Cluster includes bombing, Cape Mount, and Bapolo. What's going on with the iron ore there? With me to discuss this very important topic, I have Glendy from G-Talk, Labrador News in Kolo Kolo. That's what Glendy does. Glendy, welcome to Friday Night Debate.
Thank you, Dennis. Hello, everybody.
And Glendy is independent. I also want to welcome Mr. Ambula Mame, a guy who is from the Western Cluster. He's here tonight. He is supporter of Councillor Tiawon Gongil Bay for the president. Mr. Mame, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you to the other colleagues on the show. Looking forward to a good and fruitful discussion.
I also want to welcome the perfect manager, that's P. Morris Krumah, independent minded. Mr. Krumah, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you. It's really good to be here with these brothers and sisters. I'm honored. Thank you.
I also want to welcome a member of the Alternative National Congress, Mr. Jonathan Tayo Say de la Care. He loves to leave the say out, and I always include that. Say, welcome to the show.
Thank you so very kindly, and thanks to everyone on the platform.
Last and definitely not the least is an independent, Wale A. Momba, who is joining us from Atlanta. Mrs. Momba, welcome to Friday Night Debate.
Thank you, Dennis. It's always good to be on the show. Looking forward to a fruitful discussion with my colleagues.
Last and definitely not the least, we want to welcome the unapologetic, the unabashed sedition, Mr. Jerome Gilman is also a host of On Point right here on Focus on Liberia. Mr. Gilman, welcome to the show.
You got everybody scared. It's all right.
Mr. Gilman is an unapologetic, unabashed sedition. Welcome, Mr. Gilman.
Thank you very much. I'm always blessed to be on your show. As you can see, I got my Propo cup. I'm ready to go.
Propo cup that, let's get started. And I will start with you, Mr. Gilman. Quite recently, there were arms discovered at the free port of Monrovia. Arms and ammunition, and there was a display on camera, as to who the culprits were. They were arrested, and further investigation were being announced. Since then, Gilman, what are you hearing, especially being someone who is pro-government? What is the latest on the guns, and what do you think is going on here?
Well, as you know, there's oppositions, there are haters, there are people within the country that feel entitled. There are some that feel this is it for the old order, that if this doesn't fall back into their hands, this will be it. Hence, they will do all they can to keep power by means of intimidation, if need be, violence. And you can see from the opposition, those who have been threatened along that line. Let's go back to the 2020 elections. You heard Mr. Dillon said it. He said, if the security apparatus of the government brings in guns of any kind, they will not know where gun will come from. And most recently, Mr. Yeka Koluba have been repeating that. We are not saying that they are the one, but there is a correlation between the thoughts. When the opposition, people of the opposition are saying that these are the possibilities that exists. And then when you find a young man in Dallas, Texas, or Houston, who is an ardent supporter of the ANC, is involved. What the intelligence have done, the US and the Liberian intelligence, is that they have given us a thread, and all we have to do is connect dots, which is what is going on now. Thank God that the United States have arrested a young man, and there is a fight within the administration, within the Liberian community, that the Liberian police is trying to ask for an extradition. And some of us who are supporters of the government are saying no, because Liberia, every criminal walks. So it would behoove us to have the United States try him and maybe persecute him here, then sending him to Liberia. That is what is happening now within the ruling party and what's on the ground, even though I don't speak for them officially.
You're muted.
Mr. Gilman, what are they accusing him of, and how many guns did he reportedly ship to Liberia?
Well, we are hearing between 29 and 37 with on account for ammunitions, and the guns for which the ammunition was shipped have not been received. So there are some talks within the intelligence community that the ammunition belong to a particular gun or guns, and they are hoping that maybe the gun is already in the country or is in transit.
Thank you. Mr. Kroman, every time we have things like this, there is always a skepticism. First of all, there is fingers pointed at opposition as being responsible, and then from the opposition end, there has been skepticism as to if this is cooked up, if this is like, for instance, the guns have been planted. That has always been the debate. What's your reading of this one?
So I'm glad you came to me. Before I even respond to the question, I'm shocked to hear my senior brother Jerome Gamer saying that, every criminal act in Liberia, every criminal walks free. The statement of saying every criminal walks free in Liberia demonstrates his lack of trust in the administration to prosecute a suspected person that probably have committed or an alleged crime. That is clear demonstration and acknowledgement of a broken system in the country by Mr. Gaiman. Let's get that out of the way. The second part is that for him to say that the young man is arrested in America, to bear arm in America is not a crime. It's allowed under the second amendment. So I don't know why would they arrest someone in America for owning arm, because it's part of your right to own arm. So I'm not sure what the arrest is about unless we get some clarity on that. But overall, the responsibility of the state then is to provide security for the people in the country, regardless whether you opposition, you ANC, you Unity Party, you Liberty Party, you CDC. The state cardinal responsibility is to provide security for all of the people, opposition or not. The troubling thing that I have is that when I hear people in the CDC administration alleging that this man, whoever that person is a is an ANC member, it means everything the ANC is an endorsement of this armed catch and all that. They are turning a national security problem to a political issue, which by in itself create conflict, because now everybody that somehow find affiliation with ANC will become defensive and will challenge the state authority. So you have to be critical when you look at these kinds of issues. It has to be done in a methodic way so that the people in the ANC don't feel like it's a threat against the political party, but it should be against the individual that is being alleged to have transported these arms. But as usual, the CDC administration usually always ascribe things to some kind of political institution rather than say this person was caught up in this act and this person is prosecuted as an individual and not with political affiliation. It breaks my heart, but that's clear demonstration of how the CDC people don't understand how governance is run. It's been going on for years. This is not the first time. We've seen so many allegations where police will investigate and nothing comes out of it. Same old story here.
That brings me to Jonathan from the ANC. When this thing happened, the first post I saw was for someone who is very close to Mr. Cummings, who was kind of in a way mocking the what was going on. In other words, ANC already declared this, that it was not true. It was something that was made. I mean, some members of ANC, because I saw some Facebook posts saying that this is, it's not true. Said the last time it was drug, now it's guns, and then that person used some like this is a joke. So, what is the ANC? I know you may not be representing the ANC tonight, but what are the discussions within the ANC circle? Is the ANC concerned about bringing the perpetrators to book, or the ANC is saying, that again, because everything they say that comes?
You a real force that comes. But very importantly, when we are talking about issue about guns, and I said on one of the platforms, that guns coming into the country in huge quantity and whatever nature, it should be to the knowing of the national security. Like chemicals for industrial purposes coming through our port of entry should be to the knowledge of the national security, NSA. Like money, and that's why you saw on the 16 billion whatever request or advocacy, Liberians went out because the manner and form by which all these transactions took place and entry was searched in a surreptitious manner. But bringing us to this conversation of guns found and what I know of and what I've followed, I think it will be hasty, and I don't want to believe that it is a pattern of the CDC to establish a Kefiaism mentality or mentality to issues of national concern to gain political. These guns have been arrested. If, as a matter of fact, there was a tip off. These guns, according to what I followed, was arrested. There was a public media follow up to it. What I saw versus what others may have posted about drugs is that in most instances, even if we are helped by our international partners to be able to align on this issue of drugs, money, the manner and form we as a government have treated the situation has demonstrated some level of weakness or destruction of the crime scene. And so it appears to the people that you are seeking to give confidence to not trust the potential. And what do I mean by that? This issue of gun was arrested and followed that they went to a house and they were able to get more arms, and the arms they were getting and that I saw was arm not getting from in a house, because from where the media stood, it was outside the house, getting it from the ceiling, holding it with the bare hands, giving it to another person. So even if we were to determine by a station after following the bill of landing, all of the shipment procedure, who hands it went into from one hand to another, how many fingerprints are it was a difficult thing for already been contaminated. Worst of all, which I bring in a Kef mentality, for Jeru to say that this smell and opposition and talk so many times emphasizing on too many sections of the opposition will bring me to bear to counter his argument by statements that have been made recklessly by the president of the Republic of Liberia. The president of the Republic of Liberia had appropriated statements that have been made very recklessly. So where would be the ground that you stand to show a reason why people could surmise that this is related to opposition or better places, the ANC, for which is somebody have been arrested? What is the facts that you are presenting us? So
but
we are in election here.
Jonathan, do you believe that these arms? What do you believe about the arms, especially coming from ANC's from the ANC side? Do you think, from the ANC angle, that this is something that the government is making up?
Look, African politics and West Africa politics in particular have been a struggle of an opposition using the barometer of regular elections and democracy as a free ambit to get into power, unlike the ruling establishment in most instances that have created the conditions that are led to say what they are upheavals. And they can be realistically pointed to. On the issue of the arms, anywhere that the facts will lead to concerning arms, but in a country in such a huge quantity, I condemn it to the highest. I never stand by any character who will do such a thing. Never. Through threat. And we are not prepared to go through such suffering.
Let me go to
and so I will want a proper investigation. But anything that will temper
1 minute quick.
Come on, let me understand you. As I said, sir, I'm coming. Anything that will temper around the true ethic or the true nature of that circumstance it will be tinted, contaminated. I will speak it out. Of the jobs.
What
No one
happened?
has taken responsibility. No agent of government.
What has been the position
No
of the
agent of
agency?
government. No agent. I come in, my friend. I come in. No agent of government. I will come to see why a CPP is. But there have been no agent of government held responsible for 100 million worth of jobs that landed on the soil of our country, blackmailing the image of our country. And you said that I want to ask what have been ANC position on an armed situation that within the ambient of national security?
Yes.
I can't answer that question.
Let's go to Wale. Wale, what do you make of this? And I think I heard that the Justice Minister, Mr. Musa Dean, was preparing for extradition, so to file in the American court so that they can extradite Mr. Baker, who is alleged to ship the arm to Liberia to be extradited to Liberia.
First of all, Dennis, I don't support any violent acts. I was in Liberia when the Civil War started, and I know what I went through as a young woman. And so if I hear anything about arms going into the country, I feel so horrible. And I condemn it in the strongest term. However, looking at the circumstances and how I look at some of the videos on the internet, it is so heartbreaking that the police, the investigation that is going on, if they are trying to extradite somebody from the United States, where are they going to find the evidence? Because all fingerprints of Liberian security are all on the guns. Everybody touched the guns. And so how are they going to carry out the investigation? Also, I find it very, very difficult that somebody higher up is not involved. If there were any arms shipped by another person, somebody in the higher up supposed to have a knowledge. Because it is not possible, in my own view, that an ordinary person will ship arms without having somebody that they are connected to, who is in the government, to make sure that those arms got to Liberia safely. Because those people that are keeping security at the port, I think the government signed a new contract with new, company. So that will tell you that the new company is directly reporting to the government on the security work that is being done there. So how will somebody be so brave without any connection ship arms from the United States to Liberia? So that alone, make me to, wonder. Another thing is, I heard that another person was on a old road till this date. I'm not sure because the last time I heard that the person escaped. I mean, no, it was the custom person that the custom person escaped. So I'm not even sure how the investigation is being carried out. So if they will want the United States to investigate the matter, then they need to turn over evidence in their possession, which they don't have, because everybody fingerprints is on the guns. And I feel so, disgusted that people will point at ANC. I mean, we live in a country where everybody support different political parties. If something went wrong with the government on a security level, they're not going to blame it on the Democrats or because somebody support Joe Biden. So therefore, the president, therefore Democrats are aware of the crime. No, it doesn't work like that. If the guy who is in question is a common supporter, doesn't mean that the CPP or the ANC is aware of whatever gun that was shipped in the country. Treat the person as an individual and not a political party or supporter of a political leader. I think it is wrong, and they need to desist from that.
Mr. Ambola, I understand, Mr. Mami, I understand those guns, they were in pieces, right? It was our security forces, the LMP, that put them together. So talking about fingerprints and all that. But since then, since that day when we saw that press conference, the show and tell. What is your reading? Where do you think this is going?
You see, the thing is, we had a very horrible past with, arms entering in the country and being used, for violence and to remove government, or in an attempt to move government. Different coups, feel were not successful. So every time we hear about arms and ammunition entering into the country illegally, we recollect those horrible past. That's what I can say. It psychologically affects the people, but when it comes to shifting blame, what I would encourage panelists and other people to do is to allow the security forces to do their job. You asking whether Cummins or Boakai or Gonglo have issued any statement condemning it. Has President Weah issued any statement condemning it?
Hallelujah.
Has the president made any comment since arms and ammunition were brought into the country supposedly to removing? I think he should be the first man shouting.
Thank you.
Since the theory is the arms and ammunition were brought in the country to removing, he should be the first man condemning the action. So let's stop pushing people to talk when the national security of the country is at stake. Let's start pushing people to talk or blaming people for not talking, hoping that we can use that to score political gains, to gain political score at the expense of the national security of the country. According to the police, the arms and ammunition coming from the United States of America. We know the security intelligence of the US. It shouldn't take them so long to detect, arrest, extradite, or prosecute in the US someone who took arms from on the soil of the United States of America to another country. So besides the fact that it threatens Liberia, it undermines America's security. So America is deeply concerned about this. Other countries trusting America's seaport and airport means of transportation will be worried and concerned that there are breaches, there are loopholes within the security system here that allowing arms and ammunition to be going to other countries. So if it can go to other countries, it might likely come to my country. There's economic implication to this to America. People wouldn't want to trade because of insecurity issues with America. So America is concerned about it. So we shouldn't make it with our normal Liberia politics. Oh, you're not talk. Let allow the police to do their job. I know America is hurt by this, that arms and ammunition left from on her shores to another country. She's harmed by that. She's worried about her reputation among her compatriots, like China, like Russia, like the Great Britain. America is worried that her security was breached.
Mr. Mame, before you continue, I spoke to a security expert and said one school of thought could be that America allowed this and tip off the Liberian security to say, well, maybe these things are being shipped. So if we can allow this one and it is monitored, it's possible that the Liberian security can connect all the dots.
Good. On that theory, yeah, my response, and the response is just instant. I've never heard that theory before, so the response is instant. And I will draw from on the drug issue. When the drugs were going to Liberia, it was America who detected that drugs were going to Liberia, informed all the security apparatus, set up the different structure, and as soon as the drug arrived, where they were taking it, because they didn't want to arrest it in the port. Because when you arrest it in the port, people can withdraw ownership. So take it to the final destination, and America and all the security forces were just there to arrest the situation right away. So all the intelligence gathering from America to where the boat, the ship were going and landing, the timing, the people knew everything. The presenter arrested those who were involved. For this gun issue, the police went there alone. America will not be directly involved with the type of security intelligence they have. They will not be directly involved in tracking arms and ammunition and get police people with all gloves on their hand, testing it and putting it together. They wouldn't do that.
Mr. Mame.
So, yeah, let me lay my thought.
Hold on, Jerome.
So they will be sensitive enough to know that touching the arms and running around with it will compromise the security. So if America were involved, that particular thing wouldn't have happened. But let's agree they were involved for the sake of the discussion. So if they were involved, it means that America has all the prima facie evidence of how the arms and ammunition were gathered, who is the owner, where it was going. Meaning they have gathered everything. So it shouldn't take long. So we'll take it two ways. If they were involved, meaning they have everything they need to track it down as they did in the job case.
To that, to put it together.
Right.
If they were not involved, then what I know is I believe the theory that they were not involved. They are embarrassed by this situation. Their counterparts are looking at a security situation to be weak. It has economic implication on them. So the text is seriously even more than Liberia does.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me go to Glendy. Mr. Gaiman, you have 30 seconds if you want to interject anything.
Yes. Real quick to Mr. Krumah, when you are talking about there's no law in holding arm in the United States. I'm a carrier. This is my arm permit. I was educated, trained to get that. So yes, why it is my right to carry this gun. There are laws that I have to abide by. Everybody that owns a gun. And to Mame, this is what we are talking about here, my brother. When we are talking about the United States intelligence, we are talking about a system called Dragnet. That means they are dragging the system from Houston all the way, like you said, to the very user end. When the last person was arrested, she wanted to deny until briefly they pulled out all her WhatsApp communication from the United States through this, and she gave up. That is just the beginning of the investigation. That tells you.
Sorry, you said who put her WhatsApp?
Her what she wanted to deny. We are talking about the lady who is now supposed to have been the end user, the I call it the broker that was supposed to receive this. She wanted to deny that she's only a broker until the WhatsApp communications from the United States all the way through leading to her. So these were some of the methods that were used to arrest some of the folks, the 9 that were arrested. They call it dragnet. The United States may have allowed this to go through, to go from Houston all the way to Sanker and Brewerville to make sure that everybody falls within that dragnet. That's what this is all about. So yes, it will take time.
Thank you. Let me go to Glendy. Glendy, what some folks in the government, what they are using is what have been said by some members of the opposition. For instance, Mr. Dolan some time ago talked about throwing stones at the president's convoy. Mr. Honorable Yeke Koluwa was organizing a citizen defense force and talk about arms. So do you think those kind of utterances will kind of play in for the government to accuse, or for some members who are pro-government to accuse opposition that, that they are responsible for things like those?
I think it's possible, but I also think anybody saying anything, the government is going to accuse them no matter what, whether it's related to guns or whatever. But I'm a bit confused. Are we talking about two different stories here? Because I'm so perplexed that this gun story we're talking about, it may not be the gun story that we heard about in Brewerville. Because I doubt if the American government is involved. I seriously doubt that they're even involved in the story as a whole. I also appreciate the fact that Mr. Gilman is saying that he is not speaking for the government of Liberia. So all of what he's saying is hearsay. I also want to point out to him that WhatsApp messages are encrypted. And they are not released easily, because we know that from the issue in France. No one can just go, unless somebody in a chat with you who leaks out a story. WhatsApp is the #1 encrypted messages that is not shared easily. So unless the lady herself shared those messages, then I would say, but it is encrypted. That I know for a fact as a WhatsApp person. But it's kind of it's confusing that the government of Liberia created a huge saga when this story broke. I mean, all of the newspaper people were there, so many police officers, and since that day, we've heard really nothing. So all of these hearsays that Mr. Gilmer is coming from, I'm baffled that where are they coming from? From the same story, the same Liberian government? Is he close to Musa Dean? Does he have information directly from Musa Dean? If the American government was involved and they were threatened by this incident, we would not have heard. We would not have heard something by now, even more from the Liberian government, because to hear that the American government is even a part of this story gives it even more credence to the Liberian government to even speak more. So I'm a little bit confused because I think we have the stories mixed up, because it cannot be the gun story that the Liberian government were perpetrating on. That's what we're talking about, because I do not believe the American government is involved. I too have someone that is directly connected with the person that has been accused, and the stories that I've heard is completely different from what I'm hearing here this evening. So I'm just baffled by everything we're saying here.
So, Glennie, what did you hear that is different from what we're saying?
So what I'm hearing is the guy who they're accusing in Texas is someone who ships barrels. So when you go and give your barrel to somebody to ship, he's not searching your barrel. Your barrels are already packed, and he goes and takes it to the. So if the lady or whoever is connected shipped those barrels to him, he had no idea what was in those barrels. Just like me shipping a box to Liberia. No one goes and open your barrel. You lock your barrel up, they pick it up and they ship it. So it's like a bunch of hearsay we're putting all jumbled together and saying, believe me, because I'm saying the government of Liberia said. But I can tell you, whatever Mr. Gilman is saying, I do not believe that, because number one, I know for a fact that WhatsApp messages are encrypted. So there was no way they would have been able to pull those messages easily without going through the WhatsApp people that's in charge. So that I know is not true.
G-Talk, I think you are way behind. When the press conference started, you heard the IG said search warrants applied for through the system. All of these things have been drawn legally. That's why they need to process.
And that IG was so competent and was such a security apparatus. Hold on a second.
Excuse me, let me land, because what I didn't do, I would have brought the arrest warrant for Mr. Jah to put up. Yes, go ahead, sir. You want to point?
No, let me correct Mr. Kime. The police director said they requested search warrant to go to the house in Broadville to search the house for arms and ammunition, not to take somebody's WhatsApp message. So
no,
your information.
I never said that. I said you heard the IG said he began by saying search warrants.
Yeah, but she was contesting. We agree.
It doesn't matter where. The idea that he knows that to confiscate and to acquire information you require search warrant. He knows.
No, but to go to the container, he did not acquire search warrant to search the container.
Exactly. No, he did not.
So
and your information about WhatsApp message was what she was contesting, that it is not possible. So
no, it is possible in this country. In a country when it have national implications.
It's not even possible. It never happened.
Hold on. Yes. We gotta move on.
I think it will be fair for us to sequence this conversation in a way that it benefits the people that are watching and listening to us. There's one aspect of where the weapons were departed and where it landed, and all of the things. I know Mr. Gilman loved to provide this intellectual justification for some of the things that are happening in the country, but let's put it in the context that all of us can agree on it. I mean, the fact is that WhatsApp message is a one-side encrypted message that everybody knows. There's no beating around that. And for you to even get a search, just give me 1 minute, please. So you're speaking, I never say anything.
No, but what you said is not factual.
But
the United States here can.
It'll be fair.
The NSA can actually grab any communications.
It'll be fair for me to make my silly point for other people to hear than for you to just dominate the conversation. conversation is two ways, and there's respect and mutual respect between all of us, right? So you say yours, I say mine. I listen,
Go ahead,
and then you
say
say yours.
yours, Mr.
Yeah.
Kwame.
So just, I hope you'll not cut me off again. But the idea is that, WhatsApp messages are encrypted messages. And even if you have a search warrant to go and take the person's phone, if the phone is locked and has a password, you can break through it. The person give you a phone, you get the phone, and how will you get the phone? You can say, I insist that you open this phone. Otherwise, what will you do? Put the person in jail? So there are, you have to put these things in a context that all of us can benefit from the discussion. I hope,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's go through this one quickly, and it's about the 70K. 70,000 got missing from We Tire Suffering rally, right? And since then, we have heard a lot of things. In fact, the guy accused of taking his absconding with the 70,000 said, I didn't do it. Mr. Jonathan Tyre, you are from ANC. So tell us, is it, how far is the investigation, and where, I like when you say we'll go where the facts lead. That is like, you've been listening to Mr. Cummings too long now. Where are the facts leading when it comes to the 70,000?
What I know of, and I can be honest with you to share with you to my limited level, is that
Jonathan, you are having trouble.
You're freezing.
You're
freezing. You're not in Morovia anymore. So what are you freezing?
We talk about Morovia now, so probably won't visit me, the Miami story. But am I okay?
Yeah, yes, go ahead quickly.
Am I okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so the investigations, both by the government of Liberia, that should be in charge of all criminal investigation on the way. Good of all is that the person accused now is coming public, which will give a sense of direction to his national security and also to the CPP themselves. Because I can tell for a fact that party itself has a role to play because they know the individual, they can identify the individual faster. I know for a fact that when Mr. Cummings' car was stolen in the Zemod range, it was one of the vice chair who was able to apprehend. I mean, he saw this fellow and called police on him. So the party itself has a role to play. But the sad part of it, is that for us, for this to be a dominating passion of both our officials, people working for political party, people in different stratas of society, it just say much about why the system really needs to be cleaned up. And that is where we are.
Is Martin Kula being investigated?
And so Martin Kula is, yes, he's going on an investigation internal to what I know of. My thing here is it's available, and that is so. Martin is always accessible to even the national security. They say we'll see Martin today, they will see Martin. They say we'll talk to Martin tomorrow, we'll talk to Martin. But who was they going to march against Martin now? That's the issue. The person who now is saying in one of his recordings, admitting to all of the past, and on the other talk show, say another thing. So it's an imbalance. And we hope that we can arrive at that scene where that person can be handled, persecuted, and whoever it be, whoever involved, but just to set the institutional reputation straight.
So he said on another recording that he took the money or took some of the money for sure.
I listened, and Jonathan, I listened to
what?
No, I listened to a TV broadcast where he was being interviewed and he said, "I'm in the sick bush. I didn't take the money. They only gave me $100 and yada yada yada." Right? And then another broadcast, someone played a recording purportedly to be him, right, where he is talking to the lady on the recording said,
Yeah.
"I handed you the bag," and where on that recording where he's admitting that he took money, but it's not 70,000. It's not all the 70,000. So in that recording, I can tell his voice. He's admitting of taking the 70,000, and the girl, the lady who also is with the Liberty Party, say, "Oh, when you took the money, why you didn't give me the code so that I can benefit?" He said, "Oh, I didn't want you to be involved." So I have that recording has not been independently verified by Focus on Liberia. But Mrs. Momba, to you, is this, when I was doing this, someone said, why is this important? Why are we talking about 70,000? This is not government money. I mean, why is this important? Do you think this is something worth discussing?
Well, it's very important and worth discussion because as we all know, when President Weah came to power, they talk about 16 billion, 25 million, all kinds of demonstration went on. Okay, so we talk about Mr. Cummins and the CPP trying to replace President Weah, who is supposed to be a corrupt president and have all the negatives that is breaking the country down. So we have to show example. When the 70,000 got when they retired suffering protest came about, people started warning Mr. Cummins about people who were making themselves the faces of that protest. Well, they didn't listen. They continue. And before the protest could end, 70,000 got missing. Where's the investigation? I read on the social media, one of the newspapers said, Mr. Cummins said, Louis Brown and Kola, or the Secretary General should take responsibility for the $70,000. So if they took responsibility or they did not take responsibility, what is he going to do? Are they still occupying their positions? He has to show example, because even if they did not take the money, as long the money was entrusted with them to do a particular job, they had to make sure that the job was done, and there were any left over, that money would have been taken back to Mr. Cummins to do what he needed to do. But it did not happen. They said they gave it to the driver. How can you look at a huge amount and give it to the driver? Now the driver came and said he didn't take the money. So whatever recording they're talking about, it is not verified. I don't believe that recording, because Liberia, anything can happen there. Somebody can make a recording and say it's your recording. And so until we verify that, for now, I would say the driver said he did not take the money. They took advantage because he was in a sick bush, and all the story went on him. Now, as a driver who is an underman, he will not be so brave to come to the news to explain that he did not take the money. He wouldn't do that. He would have just remained in hiding. So I don't believe the whole story. So if Mr. Cummins said Louis Brown and Kola should take responsibility, I think it needs to go more than that. They need to be suspended from whatever job they occupy or positions. They have to be on suspension, and the investigation goes on and probably fire them. He has to show example. It's not about personal money. It's about how he's going to lead the country. All right. So this money, I don't want people to take it like that. His personal money, that party based. No, it's not. He has to show leadership before he wins the elections. If he can't show leadership and allow the same people to be in position, and he knows very well they should take responsibility, so then where are we going? We have to show example. If you want to replace show example now that people should be credible. You should put people in positions that will do the job, that will not invest in the country money. And this is how it starts.
Thank you. So, Mr. Mame, to Alice's
Put that
point,
TV off.
right? That there are a series of events that occurred before this. There was this Tim Cummings appointment, and there was some noise, and Mr. Cummings was, tuned deaf to that. And then we Tire Suffering Rally, where Mr. Louis Brown was the mouthpiece, and then Mr. Kula was the chair. Now there's money that is missing.
So you put that TV off and go in your room.
That issue has not been resolved. And Mr. Cummings, we have not read of in the news of him taking some strong stands against that. Is this embarrassing to Mr. Cummings, or is just really doesn't matter?
For me, to be honest, I don't see it as a topical issue. The last time it happened, when it was a hard news, I said we should not be beating on the victim. The victim is the person from whom the money was stolen. The ANC people are the victim in the case. They lost, good sum of money. Whether it is 70,000, I've not been able to establish that. I know they issue a statement and said the money was not 70,000. But whatever the amount is, I said we shouldn't beat on the victim a whole lot. And the victim in the case is the person from whom the money was stolen.
How you know there's a victim and who steals from who? How you establish that?
Oh yeah, the fact that you're discussing that money got missing from somebody, meaning there is a victim.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the only thing we can do now is to establish the authenticity of the claim. But the main point I want to drive through on this is under our laws, criminal cases are prosecuted by the state. All criminal cases are prosecuted by the state. That's the reason why the government prosecuted Cummings, even though it was a disagreement between United Party, Labour, and what people doing? ALP. So criminal cases are prosecuted by the state. The state in the case has not taken interest in prosecuting this case, has not taken interest in finding the alleged, criminal. What I know is, and I know this for 90% factual, the guy on the radio who spoke is expected to return is expected to come up from a hiding very soon. He will join the CDC and he will be used as an agent to attack few people in the ANC or whatever they will find themselves in 2023 election. He's coming out. That's the reason why he came out and spoke so confidently. He was coached. He was advised to say almost every word he said on that show, that I did not take the money. In fact, since I left, yesterday was my first day getting on social media to even see posts. Those were his comments. But this guy changed his profile picture 3 times. He had Mr. Cummings' picture as his profile picture.
Yes.
Before he allegedly stole. After the news broke up that he allegedly stole, he changed Cummings' picture from his profile picture and put another profile because he was already now into disagreement with the people, so he can no longer use Cummings' profile picture. A former or current security intelligence in Liberia, they call PR. If you go on his page, security intelligence, I sure maybe currently he still wear with NSA, but he doesn't wear uniform now. But during the early administration, he was a CID. PR posted on Facebook that he has spoken with this guy, and the guy said that he did not take the amount of money the Liberty Party, the ANC people are accusing him of. And he warned ANC to desist from putting up the amount that the boy allegedly took. That was PR. The same day, the man escaped when ANC wrote the communication to the security apparatus alerting everybody escape, PR posted that the amount is now 70,000. He spoke with the boy. He posted on his page that he spoke with the boy, and the money was now 70,000. But what I'm sending through is whatever the amount is, it is the state that should prosecute in this case. But the state is not having interest in the case. Rather, the state is having interest in the politics of the case.
Dennis, can I ask him a question? How do you know that the state is not taking interest? Have they reported a case to the court or to the police? Do you know for sure?
Okay, good. So what I know is I saw a communication from the ANC under the signature of the Secretary General Martin Kula, informing the Justice Minister and the police about a missing money.
Was it the same day? Because they denied that the first letter. I don't know if there was another letter.
The ANC denied that.
Yeah, yes, they denied the first letter.
It was not. It was fraudulent. It was fake.
Oh, okay, good. So Dulake can tell whether ANC has lodged a complaint with the state. But I was just making the case that it is.
So ANC has not lodged the case with the police.
We don't know.
Nobody knows. Okay, but I'm telling you that I read on social media where Mr. Cummins said Louis Brown and Kola should take responsibility for the missing money. So if there's any case launched with the police, why are we not waiting for the police before we holding people responsible?
Oh yeah, you can hold somebody. You can hold somebody responsible. Holding somebody responsible doesn't
allegedly
corporate.
Okay.
Hold on, Alex.
Yes.
Hold on, Alex. I want to go to Glendy this time.
But
Glendy, what's your take? Does Mr. Cummins and the ANC bear any responsibility as to how things are going concerning this 70K?
Absolutely, 100%. I think they have a responsibility. I also think because it's an ethical matter and it involves character assassination and stealing, so it's wrong. But I also want to give them the opportunity. They've said to us they're doing an investigation. Let them investigate. I think this story has just taken up too much time in the news arena when we have Western cluster that we're talking about, when we have leeches that we're talking about, when we have so many other things that are most important to discuss, and we continue to dwell on a 70K of an in-house investigation that's being handled. Yes, they need to be held responsible. Yes, they need to investigate them. We need to know what's going on. But should it be a number one topic for me? Hell no. I am done with this topic. Seriously.
Mr. Gaiman, is it the government that is blowing this out of proportion? Or is it a legitimate thing?
First of all, this shows you, I think, let me quote Mr. Cummings here, where he said, even though we charge him for academic fraud, he quoted Albert Einstein without giving credit, because that particular quotation that he uses was originally Albert Einstein. But he quotes Albert Einstein regularly to say, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results is insanity. We agree with him. This is a man who came to the Liberian political scene with his hand up like this. He said, I am a man of clean hands. I will not tarnish my reputation with those who are soiled in this country. First, he flipped. Not only that, but he did exactly, he went back to the playbook. Not only did he go to the bottom of the deck, he went to the back page of the deck and took from not Ellie, not from Sawyer, not from Mrs. Smith, but Paris, but went to Charles Taylor at the bottom of the deck and took Charles Taylor henchmen, Gabriel McIntosh, Brown, and all of those folks, and then took some ramblings from Ellen Johnson's past, like Wisner and all of these people, put them
We're
together.
talking about the missing money.
Yes, we coming now.
Give me
Repackage.
background.
Excuse me. Repackage them and say this is the group that is going to take over from this corrupt government that we have in Liberia. These people are men in whom I trust. The first thing he did was this entire thing. We knew it was a bait and switch. It was not for the people, but it was for the aggrandizement of Mr. Cummings. But when they came, we saw what happened. And we are talking about $70,000. That is, it raises more questions. How do you,
25 million?
Excuse me, man.
25 million?
Excuse me, man. How do you get 70,000 US dollars? Are we talking about money laundering? There's any proof. How
Are you serious?
Excuse me, man. I'm talking. Please don't interrupt me. How do you get 70,000? How do you get 70,000 US dollars in the van, in the back of a Toyota truck with a pickup with a driver? Who knows how much that has been? How that money was had? Where it was withdrawn? How was it transferred? None of these are happening. These are
about 100.
Man, take some of that 70K and buy you some data. So here we are. We are talking about we are talking about a man. What we are saying here, running government is totally different from running corporate America. And you're saying it was a joke. This man is incompetent. He cannot run government, and this is a typical example.
Thank you, Mr. Kruman. Does Jerome have a point here? Because there are things that led up to this one, and Mr. Cummings not being able to resolve this or show us a clear direction as to how this 70,000 saga is resolved. Doesn't it show that this is something to really take a hard look at?
So Dennis, I mean, all of us live in a country like the United States where the rule of law is exemplified at every level, right? So the way I see it is that the 70,000, any kind of investigation like that should be the responsibility of the state. Even if the ANC people are doing internal investigation, the state should investigate, because part of the state responsibility is to ensure that everyone that lives within the borders of the Republic of Liberia are under a law that they can be assured that they are protected of that law.
Right. Before you continue, but you can clearly see from the missing money that some processes were not followed, right?
That's correct.
Shouldn't there be some disciplinary action? Shouldn't somebody get
Absolutely.
fired?
So that's what I said, that the ANC part, we can deal with that because the ANC have demonstrated some lapses and inefficiency within the way they handle this money issue. We can discuss that is inside within the framework of a political party. We can talk about that. But
does that rise to the level of questioning Mr. Cummings' competence to handle the affairs of the country?
If Mr. Cummings does not have the balls to say to one or two people inside the ANC and Labour Party collaboration at this point to say, you are responsible for the 70,000. This is the action that we're taking, suspension, expulsion, whatever, that this party is going to take, then yes. Then he has shown that he doesn't have the ability to manage a political party, needless to talk about managing the state. But we can also talk about the state responsibility as well, right? That the state has failed its people. But because people are in the opposition and there is some kind of, money thing that happened that is not very clear, the state has reneged on its responsibility to investigate and get to the bottom of it. That is clear.
Mr. Krumah, if your car was stolen in your house and you don't report
you gotta report that.
You don't report it to the state, the state cannot go and look for your car.
But you don't know that for a fact.
We know for the fact that when
how you know?
Because if they are happy, ANC will have
if you don't tell the police.
But how do you know? Do you work with the police?
Yeah, you guys.
ANC have not said it.
You don't know that.
ANC have not filed a
Mr.
complaint.
Gaiman,
They
Mr.
were
Gaiman,
shooting.
Mr. Gaiman,
Mr.
Right
Gaiman,
at the police department.
They will have
Mr.
shown
Gaiman,
it.
Mr.
Mr.
Gaiman and Ms.
Kroma, complete your
Moba,
thought.
Mr. Gaiman and Ms. Moba, your assumptions are as good as mine
Thank you.
that the ANC did not report it, as much as I assume that the state has not investigated.
Yes, sir.
It's fair, right?
No,
Yes.
no, it's not.
Yes.
All right.
All right, so let's make progress,
Thank you.
Dennis. Let's make progress.
Thank you.
Well, it's fair, but one thing is we do not know whether the case was reported.
Hold on,
It's not
Mr. Moba.
fair. It's
Hold
not
on,
fair
Mr.
because ANC.
Hold on, Jerome. Mr. Bulake, let's conclude on this, right? If you get some data now. All right.
It looks like he's frozen.
That takes us to our next issue, which is the VP's choices of Mr. Boakai, right? And in the 2017 election, I was one of those who said all of the presidential candidates or the major ones had all bad VP choices. This year now, so people are a little eerie about this. And even Mr. Boakai, talked about it, right? That he was going to make a decision sooner because the last time it was late. Mr. Cummings also have not made any VP choice, but there have been a laundry list of things, names being floated around, especially for Mr. Boakai and Mr. Cummings. At the same time, recently it was reported that Mr. Boakai was at the hospital, and people called me and said, "Oh, why are you not talking about it?" Well, let's start with the VP business, right? There are some names out there. Mr. Kroma, you spent some time with the Unity Party. What do you think? Where you think Mr. Boakai is going this time when it comes to finding his running mate? What's your read?
I mean, the last time I was on the show here, I talked about how important it is for JMB to choose a vibrant, young, energetic, crowd-pulling VP because that person will do a lot of heavy lifting for the old man when the time for campaign comes. We need an energetic person that can mobilize, the different segment of the Unity Party. With everybody that's out there, I believe if the old man is able to discuss and recruit someone like a Tiawan Gonglo, for example, to the Unity Party, I can see a first round defeat for CDC with no doubt in my head. I believe they can defeat CDC in the first round of the election.
Do you think Mr. Boakai has the ability of making very good choice this time around? Because Nukwe was a bad choice.
Nukwe certainly was a bad choice. Nukwe left some bitter pills in our mouths in 2017 when her name was announced. I think, lessons can be learned from that, just like the CDC did in 2005 and 2011. They came with a third man, and CDC took George Weah to the second place of VP slot because they felt George Weah was incompetent. Then in 2017, they reversed it again. So, well, let him go because, he can win. But ideally, I think the lessons that we learned from 2017 will definitely impact the decision that Omer makes. There are indications that Yombli Kanga, is also an option. If that is the case, it is what it is. There's nothing none of us can do about it. But I do think that a Tiawan Gonglo and JMB ticket is a first round victory.
Glennie, let me ask you about Yombli Kanga because I listened to her press conference where she was like, pick me. What you make of that? Because I heard her saying when they asked and she said, well, the VP position is not something that you run for. And then in the next statement, say, but I'm qualified to be vice president. I'm qualified to be president. What do you think the former vice president is looking? You think he's looking the Yombli's direction? And what do you think of Yombli and then Jeremiah Kuhn and other people that were listed in there?
Of course she's qualified. Of course she has the charisma. Of course she has the public knowledge. She has governmental experience. Of course she's qualified. Why wouldn't she be qualified? Why wouldn't she want to say that, hey, I could be a candidate for vice president? Why shouldn't he want to pick her? She has the bachelor belt on her. If we're also looking at somebody who can galvanize a crowd, she can do that easily. I think she should be looked at. I think she's qualified. I think she should be looked at one of those that Vivi Barker should consider as a candidate for vice presidency. So
And what do you
I
think?
see absolutely nothing wrong with Yombly and her thinking that she's experienced and she should be looked at for vice president.
What do you think she brings to the ticket?
What does she bring? I mean, no one here is stranger to Yombly Kanga and who she is and what she's done to be able to pull the Basa people behind her through all of her candidacy. No one here is any shock or any surprise. And I think the fact that her name has even come up, it means that Vivi Barker has looked at her. Because at one point in time, they've been talking about Yombly Kanga being his running mate. So I'm pretty sure he has considered her. I'm sure that he's considered the Bassa vote also, which is very critical. So that's what she brings. The Bassa people and the people of Grand Bassa County, not necessarily the Bassa people, because they have other people in Grand Bassa County. But the people of Grand Bassa County lost Yombly Kanga Lawrence. So I think Vivi Baba should also consider her and looked at her as a running mate. I think she's very qualified.
Thank you, Mr. Gilman. What's your take on the slit of choices before the VP and where you think it's going to go?
Well, I want to publicly say my prayer for VP Boykai. He's in the hospital. He's been there. We hope that he's well. We pray that when we bring him to the United States, he will recover.
Why are you even doing that? Why are you even doing that?
Excuse me.
Why are you even know? You're not going to be cynical. You're not going to be cynical and we sit there and accept that. Why would you even do that?
Why you interrupting my prayer?
No, why are you being cynical? If you want to wish him well, you wish him well. Why are you saying that we're going to bring him to bring him to America when they've already denounced that?
Why are you interrupting my prayer? Why are you interrupting my
prayer? Hold on, Glennie. Let Jerome complete his thought. I have for you the front page of publication there talking about the 2023 VP possible pick for Mr. Boykai. Go ahead, Mr. Gilman.
Yeah, my prayer goes to the VP and his family and his children. We are hoping that he recovers. He's been in the hospital going on 5 days with her. And the president reached out.
I thought he was
excuse me. The president of the Republic of Liberia, the administration reached out to the family to have him airlifted to the United States for medical help.
When was that? Is that a Kev Hassan story from School TV?
Excuse me. Obviously, you didn't see the press release from the Ministry of Information, so you are behind. But that's what it is. We are praying that the old man does well, but we warn you.
Let's get to the VP.
I'm coming to the more. My prayer is done for him. Hopefully, God will treat him well. Mo Abraham, the famous Mo Abraham said, he said, Africa is the only place where people in their 90s, people who are past their prime, will definitely can barely lift up their arms. Some are in wheelchairs. They are telling 17, 28, 29-year-old vibrant young men and women that I am your future. This is where we are with Omen Boykai. We told you time and time in memory that Omen Boykai was too old. He is not vibrant enough to run a country. It is not a joke to run a country. So picking a VP, I would say, since I'm from Grand Bassa County, I'm not going to be politically correct here. I will want Yombly Kanga to be the next president of the Republic of Liberia because Bassa needs it. So I will want Yombly Kanga to be his vice president because he is not capable. He is not strong enough. The old man cannot be president of the Republic of Liberia, period.
Mr. Mame, you support Councillor Gonglo, and every now and then we hear people, even on this show, that Maurice Nkrumah is saying, let the VP pick Councillor Gonglo. And also, from Bapolo, You got your man there from Bapolu on the list. What's your take? Where you think the VP should go?
I support Gonglu for president. I don't support him for vice president. Whatever the case is, the decision to select who becomes the vice president to any candidate will be that candidate to make a call. But what we can hope for, our aspiration would be, to have a competent and experienced vice president. In the case of Joseph Boakai, an elderly wise man, you expect him to have physical challenges. He wouldn't be as active and rigorous as you have a 35-year-old man in the mansion, or somebody young like me in the mansion, right? So it's obvious that you have Boakai like we have Biden in America. So what you will expect is we expect that he will have a vibrant, educated, experienced, well-grounded vice president who can provide both technical and administrative guidance to the administration and ensure development policies are implemented and evaluated over time. But more than that, that is ready to be the president the next day. So whether it's a man or it's a woman, we can only just make these criteria that Mr. Vice President and Mr. Vice President Joseph Boakai, and whether it's Councillor Gonglo, when we talk about the Gonglo movement, talking about who to select, these are the criteria we look for. Educated, experienced, because we see the calamity hanging over our country of an inexperienced man serving as president. So if you have an inexperienced person as vice president, it's a likelihood they could come back and just revert the disaster we facing on we are. So let Joe Boakai think about finding an experienced person, whether male or female, somebody well-rounded and experienced in governance, somebody who is able to drive the development agenda. That said, just to close on it, that said, I believe that all these candidates, and we've been talking about this, all these candidates have chances of winning. Boakai have a chance to win. Kumi has a chance to win. Gonglu has a chance to win. But the risk that hangs over the country, we should not, if we're not very sure, take chances to remove the calamity that hanging over Liberia. That calamity is a George Weah content. We should not take chances to remove that to prevent that calamity from falling over us. So as we talk about selecting running mates, we should also be thinking about and talking about a more consolidated, united opposition that defeats Weah and save resources from going to second round in an election. That resources could be used to provide chairs and drugs in the hospitals rather than conducting second round election. So yes, we'll talk about the different candidates. We'll set the criteria for the type of people to be vice president. I support Gonglo to be president, but I equally believe that as we talk about the risks that hang over the country, the calamity of a George Weah circumstance, the disaster it will cause that country, we should not take chances to prevent it or reverse it. We should take certainty. And if that certainty is in a united opposition, we should be open to work together as united opposition to prevent the calamity that George Weah circumstance will cause.
Thank you. Mr. Dolake, most of the time, and I really want to make this our next topic, is the political ideologies of these political parties. How are they different? Because most of the time, when we talk about even the vice presidency, we are talking about individuals. We are not even taking the party into consideration as to who align with who. What does the ANC believe? What does the Unity Party believe about governance that is fundamentally different from the ANC or the LPP or the CDC? But we are looking at names. Oh, Mr. Boakai, pick this one pick this one. We don't care how they approach governance, right? Do you see this too as a problem? It's like, I mean, just go and pick somebody because this person is from, he's Gribble. And since you are Loma, the two Gribble and Loma, or because he's from Bonk, he will bring the pellet vote, or he's going to bring the Loma vote. How has our politics become like that? Mr. Dolake? So Dolaka, don't tell me you don't have internet over there.
Frozen.
Let me go to Alice. This whole idea of picking VP, picking running mates based on maybe country of origin, no ideology is involved. How dangerous is this? You are muted.
I'd rather people looking at the qualification of an individual and the technical know-how of that person to manage the country if the president, in case something happens to the president.
Yeah,
I,
but
I don't believe people talking about because you come from a specific region, you're going to bring the votes from there. I don't think that how we should be naming people to be vice president or presidents. In my view, Mr. Boakai, he is a wise person. He has the ability to lead, but I think his age is a problem. And if he's selecting a vice president, it should be somebody who is educated, somebody who will take the wheel of the country day one to start in case Mr. Boakai is in a hospital or something. He needs to take a person who will be ready from day one to be the president. And I know there are a whole lot of qualified people, but in my view, Gunklo, because of his past experience and his ability to lead, I think if Mr. Boakai needs to pick a vice president, that should be the way he should go. And don't focus merely on who's bringing what vote. We want somebody who will bring ideas to the table and who will be willing to do the work from day one if something happens to the president.
Dennis.
Go ahead, Jonathan. You're still frozen. Go ahead, Glendy.
I I
He's
I will
sleeping.
be I will not be happy if I continue to allow people to talk about about Ambassador Parker's age. That's a form of racism, prejudicial. If we continue to speak about his age, if whether he's 100 years or if he feels he's qualified and he wants to go up to the
Nobody
task,
say he's not
no,
qualified,
no, no,
but that's
no,
the
no,
Hold
no,
on,
no.
reality.
hold
Let
on,
me
Wale.
speak.
Hold on, Wale.
Let me speak. When we continue to refer to Ambassador Barker age, it's a form of prejudicial being prejudiced, and it's a form of racism. And I refuse not to speak against it being here with all of us here knowing that fully well that it's wrong. Whether
Dennis
he's
can
old, whether
Yeah,
he's
hold on,
young,
Wale.
it is wrong for us to focus on his age. Completely wrong.
Are you saying the
Yeah,
age
Reason
is
why
not a factor?
they
so
tell you at
Dennis,
65,
Hold on. Let
67,
me ask
you
Glendy
can't
first.
work
Dennis
and
can come
have
in.
to retire.
Hold on. Glendy, are you saying his age is not a factor?
I'm saying it's a factor, but it should not be a primary factor if he feels that he's competent to run. We should not
Dennis,
continue to be prejudiced against him because we want to speak against his age. We shouldn't do that. That's wrong.
Dennis, Dennis, can I
Dennis
add
can
to
come in.
what my
Yeah,
sister
yeah.
G Talk is talking about? I think part of the only
Hey,
criteria the only criteria for running for president in Liberia is your age. You got to meet a certain threshold age. So you got to be over, I believe it's 25 or 28,
Yes.
whatever
20,
that
yeah, I
age
think
is.
26.
When you get to that age, you are qualified to run for president.
Finish.
So after that, whatever it is, way before the 1987 going, they will talk about property. You got to own a certain property and all that crap. But those things are out of the book now. So there's no other qualification to run for the presidency. The Liberian people are the ones that can say, well, I'm not voting for GMB because I feel he's old. If the Liberian people decide that this old man we want, then we don't have the right or any authority to say that this old man is too old to run. It's just like telling somebody, oh man, you're too young, you're 27-year-old, you're not supposed to be lawmaker. Whereas you have, in other countries where 30-year-old are becoming governors and and state representatives, but we're sitting in Liberia and saying 30-year-old is still a youth. So we're clogging the system. But the idea is that we shouldn't bar people just because of their age. In fact, sometimes age comes with wisdom, and age are the qualifies people use to actually mobilize more people around unity. And I think his wisdom as a statesman,
Dennis,
he's
Hold on,
like
let me
the
ask.
only walking statesman I would
Let me
point
ask
to
a
right
question
now.
before. I think you have heard people calling Mr. Bwaka elderly statement, which is
That's correct. That's
right.
correct. I just said that.
Does that have to do with age?
So to say that he's an elderly statesman, I'm putting wisdom around that. I'm not ignoring the fact that
But
he's
in
an
that
old man.
sense, he's benefiting from the age business, right?
That's correct. I'm not ignoring that. I'm saying I acknowledge he's an elderly man, but in elections, politics is about number, it's about voting. So the people that go to the ballot box to vote are the ones that decide whether this person is too old or too young. And if most people decide that the too old man is the one that they won, there's nothing any of us can do about it. We have to live with it.
Well, go ahead.
Okay, first of all, I want to say that I do not support discrimination based on age, sex, political affiliation, or any other thing. What I'm saying is, and realistically, all of us on the platform know, without any disrespect to the elderly statement, that his age is advanced. And that's why I'm saying if he's selecting somebody, it should be somebody who from day one is ready to lead the country. We shouldn't be scrambling around and talk about, the president's sick today, and we're looking for somebody to do what. So right now we need a vice president because we are looking at the elderly statesman. We need to pick a vice president who will be able to steer the affairs of the country when the president is incapacitated. That's my point. I'm not trying to disqualify him because of the age.
That's a fair statement.
Mr. John.
Okay, but I give you 30 seconds because you started this whole thing. But go ahead, and then we'll go to Western Cluster.
Yes, I want for Mr. Kromah to be reminded that he's very contradictory. He said Bwaka may need a very young person because that person would do the heavy lifting.
Yes.
That tells me that Bwaka can lift, and the presidency requires lifting, heavy lifting. So what we are saying here is, in the United States,
I said heavy lifting when it comes to the campaign. Did you hear me?
Hold on, Morris.
Whatever it is, in the United States, and when you pass certain age limits, they don't allow you to drive. They don't allow you to do many other things. In fact, in the United States, at the age of 70 now, you are required to retire because you are not at the best as you were when you were 28 coming into the workforce. So it is not discrimination. It is just the fact that at that age, your productivity, your dexterity, everything has declined. So that's what it is. Women work at 80. Joe Biden took office at 78. Waka is going to be inaugurated at 80. That is a major difference between anybody in this world at 80 to take on that kind of responsibility.
Thank you. I want us to go to Western Cluster.
Yeah, Dennis, let me tell you one more comment before we go, please. I beg you. Because the idea of this issue that Mr. Gima is pushing is preposterous. I mean, think about it. You said Biden is 78, and you said Joe Biden is going to be 80 years old when he becomes president. That's 2 years difference. And look at the two candidates that reign in America, Joe Biden and Trump.
Thank you.
I mean, think about this.
Joe Biden,
Mr. Gima,
Joe Biden is not in the hospital.
Mr. Gima, you argue.
Well, you've been to the hospital too. What kind of argument is that? Have you not been to the
hospital for a week?
All right.
I
got your point. Let's take us to our final topic, which is on the Western Cluster. That will be our final topic tonight. Western Cluster. What is this Western Cluster?
Hi, my name is Addie Tyler from Pennsylvania, and you're watching Focus on Liberia.
At Focus on Liberia, we educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia. Tonight is Friday night debate. Focus on Liberia is the home of the debate. You can find debate anywhere else, but right here on Focus on Liberia. Western Cluster. the counties of Bome, Cape Mount, and Bapulu, known as the western counties of Liberia. Those three counties, there's a company there started with NOIC, and now there's a company there called Western Cluster. Western Cluster has been in the news lately, and one of the major things they accuse them of is the iron ore they are mining in the Bome area. They put in the iron ore in truck instead of the rail, using the railroad, using trains, right? And so there are a lot of things going on. The agreement was signed long back during the administration of President Sirleaf, and we have seen two names around it, mainly Mr. Snow. This issue, and anytime I read about it, sometimes some people will say bombing. Bombing has, if bombing is on her own. But what are we doing as Liberians? So let me start with a brother here who is from the Western Cluster, Mr. Mame. Mr. Mame, I want you to just give us a brief synopsis of this whole Western Cluster, and what's your take as someone who's from that region?
Oh, so synopsis for before my opinion, right?
Yeah, give a short or 2 minute synopsis.
Yeah,
Not
so
the Mame synopsis.
yeah, so the United Party government signed the Mineral Development Agreement with Western Cluster in 2011. Western Cluster, they provided an exploration license like it's always done in the extractive industry. You explore first when you discover, then you prepare your production plan, you present it to the government approves your production plan, and then the government gives you license to go and produce based on your production plan. And that production plan normally encompasses a whole lot of different things, benefits to the community, how revenue will be shared, how government will extract royalties, how the environment will be protected, and in the event where the environment is damaged, how it will be restored, how you will protect wildlife, how you protect sacred areas where people have graves and other, specific places, sandy bush and stuff like that. So the whole thing is around the production plan that is approved by the government. So Western Cluster could not commence production in Liberia after she made significant discovery because the government did not approve her production plan. And within that time, Ebola hit.
Ebola.
So Western Cluster had to leave. Western Cluster being out, but Western Cluster has an active mineral development agreement up to 2025. So they decided to come back, and Edwin Snow put himself in the center of the negotiation, which is wrong. He attempted doing that during the President Sirleaf administration, but Sirleaf, being a president, having a shoulder on her head, when he was running around in Monrovia with Gazprom and saying he bring his oil company, she called him and restricted him. They said, you don't do that. You legislators sit in the legislature. We have government institutions to negotiate concessions. When those concessions are negotiated, we'll present it to you for your review and approval. You cannot participate in the negotiation and participate in the approval or rectification of the negotiation. So she basically put him in her place because she knew what she was doing. She had her head on her shoulder. But we are being who he is, ignorant, inexperienced, incompetent, allows Snow to put himself in the middle of an investigation, traveling to India, taking Western Cluster or in the bush and taking pictures, and declare himself chief negotiator for Bome County. They signed a MOU, which I will speak to later. The MOU, to a larger extent, is illegal and contradicts the Mineral Development Agreement. The people in the county are angry, especially so that the promises that Edwin Snow and other people presented to them that Western Cluster would have delivered, Western Cluster has not delivered. The topical issue is around the road, the use of truck, it's around jobs, it's around environmental issues. But the main thing that everybody gloss over when they pay keen attention to the road issue is what I want to speak to. So that's the overview.
You are muted.
You're muted.
So before there was Western Cluster, there was NROC, that company that was in Bome Hills. And so when they closed down in 1985, there was an agreement.
Excuse me.
Hold on.
LMC and Manor River or NROC?
Yeah, NROC. Okay. So that was Manor River. So when they closed down, they had over about 1,800 employees. And so when the new company comes, was first of all their severance pay, and when new company come, they want to hire them, and also all kinds of things in there. So now those people too want something from the Western cluster. Are they prepared to do it? So there are a whole lot of issues. So now your opinion, Mr. Mame, on this whole Western cluster thing.
My opinion is the people of Bombay, the people of the Western region, Liberians all around, should pressure the government to withdraw the production license that she provided to Western Cluster until Western Cluster can meet all the environmental, social, economic requirements in the Mineral Development Agreement. That production license they provided to Western Cluster in April is illegal. It undermines the Mineral Development Agreement. Western Cluster has an active Mineral Development Agreement. They did not need an MOU to resume activities. The reason why Western Cluster requested an MOU and the government conceded is because of personal interest. Let me take you back a little bit. Western Cluster, the Mineral Development Agreement says before you are issued a production license, because the production license in mineral development is the government's trump card. That's the last thing the government gives to the concessionaire. Once they get production license, they are done. That's the last thing. So, because the Mineral Development Agreement cannot incorporate everything, the Mineral Development Agreement says before the government gives production license, the company, in the case Western Cluster, must develop a comprehensive plan around over 30 different things in the Mineral Development Agreement. One, I will just give you a few of the over 30 different things they need to develop, called the feasibility study report. You need to present that to the government. The government will hire an independent evaluator who will evaluate and advise the government, and before the government approves your operation and give you license to go and produce. Western Cluster were in that process with the Salif administration, but the Salif administration were reviewing that process, and Western Cluster did not satisfactorily meet all the requirements. That is the reason why they spent from 2011 to 2014 in that country and did not get production license, because they did not meet all the requirements. Some of the requirements: one, because the government is extracting royalty on every production Western Cluster produces, the Mineral Development Agreement says Western Cluster and the government must agree first on the rate at which they will determine the market value, and on that market value, before government will apply her royalty. That agreement must be signed before they issue the production license, because when you start producing, we don't want to be making confusion over what the royalty should be. So that royalty agreement should be signed. Two, Western Cluster must conduct a study on how many persons her activity will employ and in the different categories, and present an employment schedule to the government of Liberia on how she will employ, who she will employ over the period of 2 years, 7 years, 15 years, and 25 years. Western Cluster did not do that. It also says, since Western Cluster is engaged into mineral development, there is a potential for an environmental problem. The experience from other countries have been, when there are environmental problem, then you go run behind a company to address the problem. This time, what we're doing now in international development and natural resource is you will do pay as you go. So our mineral development agreement says with Western Cluster needed to present to the government of Liberia a letter of credit from an international respectable banking institution of X amount of money that the government will hold. Just in case there's environmental problem, the government will draw on a letter of credit to address the problem without even going back to Western Cluster. Western Cluster did not do that. It also says Western Cluster need to build alternative energy source, need to build railroad. But before you get your production license, you must present all the design the plan and the date of when you will start and when you will end the construction of your rail, the construction of your alternative source. So several preconditions that Western Cluster did not meet, for which the United Party government did not give the production license. When they were coming back, they told Edwin Snow and the CDC government, give us an MOU that will allow us our production license. The only requirement, in fact, there is no requirement in the MOU. You will pull out the MOU, we will read it. There is no requirement in the MOU. In fact, the MOU says, before Western Cluster pays the $5 million, which is a negotiated amount of $10 million, before they pay that $5 million, the government will give them the MOU. The government will give them the production license. So the government gave Western Cluster a production license without Western Cluster meeting the over 30 requirements in the Mineral Development Agreement. That is the reason why the people in Bomi, just to conclude, that is the reason why the people in Bomi are saying they want job. Western Cluster cannot say how many jobs she will provide. The government cannot say it. Edwin Snow cannot say it. They just keep saying we'll provide job. That is because the job plan that was required to be developed and approved was not developed and approved, and Western Cluster was provided the production license. So we're calling on the government to withdraw that license and activate the Mineral Development Agreement. Western Cluster should meet all those requirements before you reissue them the license.
Mr. John.
Yes, sir.
Let me inform our audience here that Mr. Mame and Mr. Kroma are former employees that work with the previous government that signed the bogus contract. And what I think we should do here, they have done very well. They'll try to mask this thing, but we're not going to allow them to mask it. When we talk about Joseph Boakai being old and feeble,
Mr. Gamer.
I'm coming to this. The reason I'm saying that, you know, I like to lay the roadmap, I let to lay the foundation. It was Joseph Boakai, president of the Senate, that oversaw the signing of 68 concession agreement of the international community. Said, well, 66 of the 68 were bogus. Joseph Boakai signed this. So what we are saying here, the two beautiful gentlemen, smart gentlemen, work with Joseph Boakai when they signed that bogus agreement. So I see where he is now, trying to mask that under their leadership, this never happened. But let me tell you this. This is an opportune time for all Liberians to come together, irrespective of your political party. The 66 bogus agreement that was signed by Joseph Boakai,
Mr. Gaiman.
We need now to revisit and cancel all
Mr. Gaiman. Yes. Mr. Gaiman, is this Western Cluster Agreement? Is it one of the 66 bogus agreement?
Yes, it's one of the 66, and this is an opportune time for all Liberians to come together and say, let us instead of reviewing the Western Cluster, let's review.
So Dennis,
Mr.
Dennis, please don't allow Mr. Gaiman to go with that story that Joseph Boakai signed those agreements.
No, I didn't say
he was the
president of the Senate
at the time.
He was the president of the Senate.
He was the president of the Senate.
Yeah, he was the president of the Senate. What was his role? Was he there to vote on it?
You have the chance to resolve that.
You interrupted my prayer. Now you interrupting my.
But CDC had job. We are and all other people in the legislature they voted for it, right?
Everybody is saying
we are president. We are on record for not voting, for not signing any of those contracts. He and Gray. Yes.
But anyway, let's correct something. Let's correct something.
Hold on, Mr. Mame. You have your chance. I want to bring in Mr. Kroma. Mr. Kroma, why are these things happening?
So thank you, Dennis, for the opportunity. It's unfortunate Mr. Gaiman don't have any governance experience, but he comes on, on a social media platform and just, shoot breeze. But it's okay. It's part of, the whole political participation. So we have to accept that.
Did you work in the Unity Party government?
Historically, this is not a new thing in Liberia, Dennis. This is a historical problem that have continued from years. When the LAMCO concession was signed, the Liberian government signed a concession with Lamco when I was probably not even born. I don't think I was born when Lamco was signed. That concession in the Mineral Development Agreement gave Liberians the opportunity to buy share within Lamco. Somehow, that part of the agreement did not meet, it did not come to fruition. Liberians did not own any share in Lamco at all. The people that owned share in Lamco at the time was a very small group of, our returning Liberians, whatever, characterization you want to call it, but very small group. I doubt if it's even 10.
The elite.
Yes, they were the political elite at the time, and they owned share within Lamco at that time. Imagine that share at that time and today where we are. There have been several mineral development agreements signed in the country that have left Liberians hanging. We can talk about Bon Mines, we can talk about Guthrie. This, this one we're talking about, this group of people that are trying to that moving iron ore from Bombay County now to Freeport by truck is a bogus company. They started off first with Elenito during the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf administration.
Mineral.
They came under that false pretense. They tried, they didn't make it. They came back again under this new arrangement. And some of what Abdullahi have said is true. You can't go into a mineral development agreement with the government and don't expect to have an environmental assessment done to establish how much impact you have on the rivers, on the forest, how can you go into a mineral development agreement and don't have those things done? But because there were roadblocks through the Lands and Mines Ministry, through the how you call it, the president office, they couldn't find a way out of it. So they said, okay, let's wait. When people leave from there, whoever come into the new administration, we can renegotiate this process. Because actually it's an opportunity for us to go and exploit a developing country or a third world country, whatever characterization you call it. Because the poor they don't know a lot. When we talk about 5 million, 10 million, they'll be excited about that kind of opportunity. And that's exactly what happened. Like they read the minds of George Weah people. They go into the country now, and Edwin Snow, everybody knows Edwin Snow. I'm not going to talk about Snow because for me it's but this culture of way back we say the Congo people, now that face have changed to ordinary majority people that we say native people that are doing exactly the same thing that other people did in the past, and we're still fighting and talking about this change thing here. This is not about let's put this whole idea of opposition who in the establishment. The fact of the matter is Snow saw an opportunity and he exploiting it at the disadvantage of the people.
Absolutely.
You believe it or not, the iron ore movement in 10 years between that Bombay County and Freeport, Monrovia, we see the health hazard that will happen within that place there. Only because people are inhaling dust that come from the mine, and it's at the risk of the ordinary people. People are suffering from it. But nobody wants to talk about it because everybody wants to have a political alignment to show the loyalty to the political party. Why is the government not acting on it? You're muted, Dennis.
Glendy, how has these people amassed so much power? I mean, our representatives and senators, that almost they can do anything, and that's why everybody wants to get there, right? We have given them so much power, or even county development funds. They are the one in America called Title IV fund. They are the one implementing financial aid, student loan, everything. Lawmakers, how have we come to this? That lawmakers are now the gods of these counties.
Greed.
And how we get out?
Greed, simply greed.
And you saw the welcome of Mr. McGill, who is heading in that direction as well. So the people, right? Because these greedy people that you talk about, greed, they don't do these things on their own. They have the citizen support. What do you think?
So it's almost sometimes I think there's a scenario that people will always relate it to. Sometimes when people are when impoverished people, they do whatever they can to survive. So that could be attributed to that. When you look at the whole thing about I'm refusing to comment on the McGill stuff. I have absolutely nothing to say about it. Nothing to say about him. Nothing to say about the people that went to meet him. Absolutely nothing to say about the entire scenario. In Liberia, the problem right now with our politicians is they're all greedy, and then there's no accountability. They don't want to be accountable to anybody. They want to continue to do. If you are a senator, it is not your prerogative to go and be making deals with concession worker or concession people or with the Western cluster people. But because he's greedy, so he went there and did what he had to do to be able to get some benefits. So this is where we are in Liberia. No accountability. We have a bunch of greedy people who continue to say, oh, I'm for the masses. I'm for the masses. They all go. Back in Sunday school, my Sunday school teacher used to say, they grab the can, they take all the can, they eat whatever in the can, and they sit on the can. They're the only beneficiaries of whatever they've stolen or whatever they continue to take. So that's it. That's the whole dichotomy of Liberia. Greedy people, they don't want to give accountability. They don't want to have to allow the people who need it the most to get it. They want everything for themselves. And this is where we are today. How do we get out of it? I don't know.
Glad if you can say that. You know. Tell us.
I don't know. I don't know how we have to vote the right people in. But how are we going to vote the right people in when you
How we
want to
gonna vote them
continue to
in?
give people? How are we going to vote the right
But
people in?
you are giving excuses for the people who vote them in. The people because you say they are poor, they are hungry.
Which it is. It is.
So
If you
Dennis is right. Poverty politics is different. Poverty politics is
is.
different. It's just poverty politics. People
That's what
exploit
it
poor
is.
people. It's the truth.
So if you keep crime hunger month and keep voting for bad people, that means your poverty is going to continue. Alice,
It will continue.
Well, I know it's difficult to say, but we have to continue to educate our people, especially with election coming. Whatever platform people have, they need to talk to these people. Edwin Snow, what's going on now, I can say he's overlapping his function. That's what most of them do in Liberia. Not only in not only in the Western cluster, it's all over Liberia.
All over.
They exploit, they connive with all kinds of bogus companies and exploit their own resources. And the poor people that own the land, they continue to live in abject poverty, all because of some of those representatives and the senators. Now, you're supposed to be in your office, for God's sake, that all the government agencies and ministries are supposed to do the contracts. After the contracts are completed, they're supposed to bring those contracts to you for you to give your input or approve whatever you need to do. But then you get in the midst of all these things, going with the people, helping them to exploit your own people. And these are the kind of money that they have, because it's not for nothing. When they connive with those people, they give them huge amount of money. Because if anybody wants to say something, they would be like, that's a senator. So the poor people will not say anything. And they will exploit them. At the end of the day, who suffers? It's our people. So it's difficult to know how to get out of it, but the only thing we need to do is to continue to educate our people, because the behavior of our leaders is not solving the problem. It's getting the problem worse. When they go out of the country, most of the people you see on the airport, they are paid. They give money for people to collect these people and take them to the airport to welcome them.
I think this whole idea of let's continue to educate our people is what the problem is, because we've been doing this thing for so long and nothing is changing. I mean, just think about the 1979 arrest riot. People went to jail. People died. People, family members actually got shot on a light pole and they killed them just because we wanted this change so badly. But then the country continued to get divided based on these small pockets of people, and people are exploiting that kind of relationship. The whole idea, Dennis, is, I mean, think about it. Forget about the Mineral Development Agreement a little bit and this whole MOU that was signed. Just ignore that for a little bit. think about the lawmakers and all of the universities and colleges that are building all around the country and bragging about doing, contributing to development. It's an ethical breach of governance. You can't be in a house as a senator or a representative and you build a school, because if you do that, when the national budget comes, you will advocate for your interest in that school for public money to go to the school. It means you are double dipping from the small resources that exist within the country. So these are the ethical things that are happening in our country. The big men don't go to jail. It's the small regular guy that steals cell phone that goes to jail. The big people that are ministers and representatives and senators and assistant ministers, deputy, they can commit all the crime. They can beat on women. Nothing happens. They can kill somebody and nothing. They'll probably go to the prison, the police station for a few days. Next thing you know, they are out. Just like Mr. Gaiman said, criminals in Liberia walk. That is the fact. But unless we start to put real public officials in jail, they go to central prison just like the regular cell phone stealer, will continue to have the issues that we're having. It's not new. This is not new. People they're not coming to the fold, but it's not new at all.
But how are we going to do that?
Hold on,
how do we do
that? Thank you. We're opening our phone lines for at least, let's take 2 calls, 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403#. And Mr. Gaiman, sometimes we think we are playing politics, and there's a question for you. But to what extent do you think the polarization in our politics contribute to this? Because if we have a bad deal at Western Cluster, when you talk about it, people in government, especially the current government, I will feel like, oh, you're talking to me. And then they point back to President Salif. Oh, this was done under President Salif, and Bwaka is responsible. And so we are caught up in that argument. And so Western Cluster continuing to go free. If you go in the southeast where these artisan mining going on, the place is polluted. The waters and everything else is being destroyed. If you go to Nimba or Grand Jide, they say people from other African countries, Burkina Faso and other people are in the forest. And people continue to complain. And those kind of complaints sometimes lead to people kind of taking the law in their own hand.
That's a weak system.
Foreign nationals, which is wrong. We know people are, So, Mr. Gaiman, my question is, to what extent has polarization of our politics and that division continue to perpetuate these problems?
Well, one of the things that I propagated from the very get-go, and I thought everybody would rally around me, just like they did the our Lives Matter thing, Black Lives Matter thing in the United States. We have seen an opportune time here. This Western Cluster debacle, I think, should actually bring us all together and say, you know what, enough is enough. Let us now go back and then revisit all the concession agreement that was signed in this country. Let us bring independent people to come and look at this so it can be fair to the folks. But as it stands, if we allow the politicians to put us into little groups, well, let's just talk about the Western Cluster and forget about Metal, forget about Lamco, forget about all of the other companies. So they are actually distracting us here. This Western Cluster is more than just Western Cluster. It's about bad deals for this nation. And if this doesn't bring us together like a George Floyd thing brought Americans together to deal with a lot of other systemic issues, I don't know what else would. The Western Cluster is a bad thing that is happening. We have to admit it. But it's not just the Western Cluster, it's the whole 68 concession agreement. And we can take this opportune time now to open the Pandora's box. Let us see what's in it. And then
Thank you. Meanwhile, our fundraiser here at Focus on Labrador continues. Please continue to support us. Your $5, $10, $100 and more can help us expand our operations in Liberia. Tomorrow, we have the History Channel. We're going to be talking about President William D. Coleman. Presidents of Liberia, that series continues with President William D. Coleman tomorrow at 7 Eastern. Your presenter, Carl Famulet, will be here. And on Sunday, we're going to have our show, Hello Pastor. So Hello Pastor is that show where we ask questions to Pastor Freeman, and he answers. Tomorrow or on Sunday at 6 o'clock, our topic will be the Bible. Is it a word of God? How many versions are there? Does the Bible contradict? Is it actually there? Were there some that were taken out? Bring all your questions and let's talk to the pastor. You don't want to forget every Tuesday at 6 o'clock, we have Abby Tyler's Healthy Living. Our health contributor, Abby Tyler, is here every Tuesday at 7 p.m. to talk about your health. You don't want to miss it. Well, let's have time now for our viewers to weigh in. The first here is Mr. Evers Morris. He's been here for 9 minutes. Go ahead, Evers, you're live.
Can you hear me, Mr. John?
Little volume, please. All right. Go ahead.
Are you getting me now?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for taking my call, and hello to the panelists. I just want to make a couple of quick comments. To Ms. Grandy, I would just say, please, when Mr. Gilmer is praying, let him finish his prayer. Don't interrupt his prayer. And then secondly, when we talk about this whole issue with the vice president, in his age, I think, like I said before, it's germane to our politics when it comes to age, when it comes to inexperience. Things that are perceived weaknesses and perhaps strengths of candidates, people have the right to, voice those, concerns. And it's well within our rights as, independents or people who are sitting outside looking in to say those things. And I don't think we should be questioned about it. We're not there's no law against a person that, being, barred from running based on their age or in terms of how old they are, being too old, that is. So I think Mr. Gilman saying that is well within his rights. And I think the health issues that the president, the vice president has is a problem. It's coming to us in the hospital and has some, medical situation that the entire country knows about. That's a factor that might go against him. So it's well within our rights. And then with the whole Western cluster thing, I think is much ado about nothing. The reality is this is our country. This is how it's been. It's been like that in other areas. There was a time, Mr. John, I'm sure you remember last year when there was this whole thing about ArcelorMittal and the people in Nimba was, protested against certain things that ArcelorMittal was doing. But now compared to Western clubs, they're looking like the same. But the reality is most of these concessions, you always have people who do a little backdoor deal to get some leeway, for their benefit. So every county or every concession area is in similar circumstances, some worse than others.
Thank you.
So there's no, there. But thank you for the show tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let me go to Mr. Hassan.
Should I get?
Yeah.
Hassan.
Oh.
Yeah. Good afternoon. Good evening, Dennis, and good evening to the panelists tonight. Great show tonight. Just a couple of points that I'm trying to make in regards to the Western cluster thing. And you just asked the question, how do our politicians have so much power? I could say we can look at from the rebel governments that we had in the past. People that were closer to the power, had the power to do anything. If in capital government, all the government officials was killing people or just violating the laws. That's how we got here. So we haven't really reset that practice. That's the reason why government officials that's close to the power can do anything, because nobody's really going to prosecute them or go after them, and so they can be held accountable. And as far as the DP choices, I agree with we have to. We have to consider everything. Our country is not there yet. When Mrs. When G-Talk, when the lady from G-Talk said, we can't discriminate against, people with disability, with age and stuff. That's true. But we aren't in the United States. Like, we're not the United States. You can put me there. If you can put me to be president in America, nothing will really change, because the system is already set up for who's there. But like, the president is the law. The president is everything. So those things are important, and they have to get raised and stuff like that. As far as, McGill, I'm going to just say this to Mr. Gayman, just because you outsmart, just because you're an educated person, you outsmart a person I don't know or people that I don't know, doesn't really make you smart. It just makes you uncommon, and that's the same thing. What's his name? McGill is doing to these people. He's not a smart person. He's just taking advantage of people that don't know, and that's the reason why I support this show. That's the reason why I'll continue to support this show, because this information is key. Information is way more important than food. The guns thing, as far as the guns, I mean, let's let the investigation play out. But it's a lot of unanswered questions. A lot of speculations, a lot of missteps that the law enforcement and Labrador have been taking, and we also know them to be very partisan too. So there's no reason why we should trust them, and we shouldn't. And I mean, Mr. Gaiman is a propagandist for the CDC, but when he comes here saying, "Oh, this person is with the ANC," or this person, you have to come with evidence, and people should challenge him on that. You can't just say those things, and have people fighting. We saw that trick with Donald Trump. That's what he used to do: accuse people, and then you spend your whole time fighting against it, and you forget the issue. Yeah, but thanks for the show tonight.
Thank you so much for calling. Let me go to Mr. Kesali Double. Go ahead, Kesali.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jai, and thanks to your panelists. It is sad that people who live in the United States, one would think that they are educated to come on the show most of the time to be misleading people. I think I've listened to the Spoon Talk, and if I want to compare FOL with the Spoon Talk, FOL have one person on this platform that looks like Kev Hassan on the Spoon Talk, and that is Mr. Gaiman. He will come to the platform most of the time to be able to inform the people on the right thing with the level of education he has, but instead he comes to the platform and just mislead people. The investigation being conducted on the armed issue, all the information he gives are all false and misleading. The one he just gave on JMB accepting medical treatment from the government are false and misleading. So I hope that when he's come to the platform, he's trying to put his fights together. Besides being a propagandist, this platform is noted for saying the truth. So we expect that when he comes to this platform, see, Mame is giving you documentation, evidence. Mr. Gaiman just come and just throw words all over the place, and he's not providing anything. Everything you say are all lies. It is bad for this platform. I hope he desists from it. This platform we're following, and we'll keep following. So I hope he stops doing what he's doing for it's not good for this platform.
Stop attacking Mr. Gaiman.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
He's my political leader. That's why I'm going after him.
Thank you.
He's my political leader. I wouldn't be after him. Thank you.
Thank you for calling. Let's go to Ambrose.
Yes. Of course, I'm going to address the gentleman that just left the line.
Okay.
You need to have a ground law, a ground group, because if you're accepting him to attack Mr. Gaiman, I can attack some of your panelists on that platform right now. Because if you start encouraging that, I think you're setting your platform for failure. But my problem, I believe it. By the way, I listened to Mohammed. I really enjoy his explanation and everything he said. I'm just struggling why we still encouraging Joseph Parker as an elderly man to run to be president for Liberia when we know all this problem Liberia is facing right now. And we need somebody energetic that will leave us.
He has the right to run, so it's not about encouraging anybody.
I'm not disqualifying Mr. Parker. I'm not saying he don't run for president.
Okay.
But where Liberia is right now, we say Joshua has destroyed our country. He's a failure, and we need somebody to move us forward. You see, Joseph Parker is a clean man. He's an honorable man. But where Liberia is right now, in my view, we need somebody energetic, somebody that will be able to take strong decisions. If he can just file Liberian minister or a director, that will change.
Thank you.
Who get the guts to do that? Who get the guts to do that right now? Everybody that trying to support Joseph Parker is somebody that was in government, maybe they come broke or they don't have to sustain themselves. So now they're trying to find means to come back to power. Are you going to change that country?
Thank you.
That's yeah. Thank you for taking my call, but you didn't have a ground rule supposed to start attacking your founders, though.
Thank you.
For taking my call.
Thank you so much for your suggestion. Let me bring on Mr. Thomas Kane, and then we'll take William Jala, and that will be it. Thomas, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. John. Hi to everyone on the show.
I wanted to share a personal experience. You know, between 2013 and 2015, I went to school in India. And close to our graduation, we had an interaction with a company that had wanted to do mining in Liberia. And in that meeting, the CEO for the company was asking us, oh, you guys are graduating now. What is your dream for going back to Liberia? And we all were saying things, beyond the moon. I want to go and do this. I want to go and do that. And then he highlighted some of the problems in our country, corruption and other things. And one of the things he vividly said in that conversation was that the capacity of our public officials was very low. That whenever they have meetings with them, they seem not to understand what they were talking. Because this is a company, an Indian company that is mining in Australia, in well-developed countries. And I'm saying this to mean, if you said that the capacity of government ministers in the early government were not up to that level, how much more the ones that we have today? And so to our public officials who think that they are very smart and they are outsmarting the poor people of Liberia, they present themselves to these people outside as being very, very, I use the word, but be very stupid. Because you have a mineral development agreement and you bypass it and give a mineral exploitation, but mining license to a company. Right. And you think you are fooling your own people, but you are saying to these people who you are. And that's the way they sit out there and look at us. And then on the other point of, who should be president, who not should be president, when you have a country or any institution that is in severe crisis, the best person to bring is the person who knows how to manage institutions like that. Even football clubs, when you sack a football club that is going to relegation, you don't go and pick Frank Lampard or Steve Gerrard that has no experience. You go for experienced coaches to bring them to come and manage the situation and stabilize it, and then you move forward. So all these things that Joseph Walker is doing, he's not able to do it. He has been there, he understands it. The work we need GMB to do is to stabilize that country, and we can be able to move it forward. We are not out of people. We have a lot of capable people. We just need to stabilize, and we'll be able to move that country forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let me take the last caller here, William Jala. William, you're live.
Thank you, Dennis Jala. Thank you for having me on, and thank you for a great show tonight. I just wanted to speak on the issue that your panelists, some of your panelists highlighted tonight with respect to Joseph Boakai, the former VP pick. In terms of, the VP credential and what the VP will bring to the table. Most of them are listening to most of them. They said the person should be educated and the person should be somebody who will be able to lead on day one. These are all great analogies or analysis. But one thing they forgot to talk about is, in order to be able to lead, you first of all have to be able to garner the vote. You first of all have to be able to win the election. How do you win the election? It's by getting the votes. It's by getting people out there to vote. So I would think that a VP pick should be someone who will be able to add something to the ticket. It should be someone who will be a winning person to that ticket. Right. Someone who will go out there and galvanize the vote, garner the vote, right? So that they will both the candidate and the presidential candidate and the VP can be able to have a successful win. Then when they win, then we start talking about all other things down that okay, this person has the capability, they have what it takes to lead on day one. But if you don't win election first and you get this person who has all these capabilities, how are they even going to govern in the first place?
Thank you.
So let us not be ahead of ourselves in this case. Let us first
You got to win first.
That needs to be done first. Win the election first, all right?
Before you look at several people?
You can begin to start talking about the other things. Because it's essential to win the election first, and then you can have the governing power. Other than that, everything else that we're talking about will be a fiasco or will be even. Thank you, General Jal, for allowing me on the show.
Thank you so much for your contribution, Mr. Jala. Mr. Jala said we will talk about governing part later, but winning for it. Sometimes
well, get anything to win, right?
I'm proud to announce the Focus on Liberia County tour, and you know what that is. We want each county to appear on Focus on Liberia with your own road show. For instance, so we're going to do a road show for you for the county. Come and talk about Bapolu. Tell us about the geography, the people, the languages, the economy, tourist attraction, and of course politics, because you know Liberians love to talk about politics. But this is an opportunity for you to market your county so that you can attract investors. And anytime we think of investors, they are not foreigners. If you can show me what is in Bapolu County or Bombay, for instance, I can say, okay, let me buy farmland there or let me do something there. So that's the show we're going to be having. So if you are in every county, please get in touch with me. I'm going to also be sending you a communication for the FOL county tour. So each county we go in, we're going to have 3 or 4 guests so that you come here and market your county. Tell us about your county, the good things in your county, why you think I should forsake my dream job as superintendent of Sino County to come to River Cess. That's the show. Expect that. Let's go around the room quickly to respond to our callers and also to wrap up. Our callers made some brilliant points. Mr. Gaiman, let me start with you. Let me just pick up Mr. Gaiman and Mr. Kroma to respond to the callers. And then Mr. Gaiman, because Kesali Double, aka Macefield Deco, say it's like you on some Coach Spoon talk.
Kev Hassan is a very good friend of mine. So he's my other brother. Says I'm from Grand Bassa. He's from Bomi. We got 2 B's together, so we got something in common.
You guys compare notes?
Yeah, they do.
That's a joke. Go ahead, respond to our callers quickly.
I think now I see why.
I actually, to be very honest with you, I don't think what the caller said is an attack. I think the caller has a strong view like anybody else, and he wasn't derogatory, he wasn't defaming. He just stated his comment, and I think I support that. That's freedom of speech. He didn't say anything personal. He didn't defy. He didn't do anything. He just felt how he felt. He expressed it, and I think we should allow that. I think the gentleman has a point. If he feels that there's a lot that's going on, but that's what the show is all about. Right. But one of the things that I want to say is I want to say thank you to.
No, you're not closing yet. We'll come back to you. Let me go to Glendy too.
The gentleman says about that, and I don't think he attacked me or attacked the show. I think he did the right thing by expressing himself without going across or crossing that line. And I think it was, to me, it was civil enough that I think we should encourage that. As far as
Glendy, what's your response to the callers? Oh, you were still talking? Sorry, Mr. Gaiman. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. I wasn't.
All right, Glendy.
Mr. Gaiman, he really wasn't saying anything, so that's why he said that's fine. But I think it's good. I think the callers, they're always interactive. I think that's very good. We hear what they're saying. One thing I've gathered from the callers is that they hold FOL in a very high esteem. I hope with their respect for FOL that they will make some donations to continue the show going. But I think they have their opinion, and they always come up and say what's there to be said. One of the callers said I should let Mr. Guma pray. I will hope that Mr. Guma will also start praying for himself so that he doesn't get old.
Morris? Your response to our callers.
I think overall the calls were really good. They were very valid points. The last caller talked about winning before you can talk about governing. That is true. You can't talk about governance when you're not, when you haven't won. The first thing is to win an election. So you think about the numbers, how to bring all those numbers together. So that's why I was proposing a JMB Gonglo ticket, because I feel they can win in the first round of the election, hands down, no argument about it. Then the governance part can come in play. There's always going to be a place for somebody like Yombli Kanga Lawrence, no matter how you put it. But the first thing is to win an election. And to win that election, you need the numbers. And the way I see it is a Nimba, Lofa County, and all the disenchanted citizens coming together in one pocket for JMB. I think that can bring some result. But overall, the callers were very very cordial. They have a big respect for the FOL, and everybody does. Dennis, and I really want to commend you again for bringing this together. It's really really taking shape. Hopefully, we're going to keep coming. Until maybe something else happens. When you become senator for Sano, then maybe
No,
Hey, leave us alone.
superintendent. We become superintendent of Sano County, then maybe we'll find alternative. But for now, we'll keep coming and keep engaging. I love engaging with Mr. Gayman because I like his energy. I really, really
The
admire him.
best. He's the best. The absolute
So,
best
yeah,
propagandist.
I love engaging with him. I thought it was great.
Thank you all. And Mayfi Deco, aka Kasali Double, say I didn't attack Mr. Gaiman.
We know that we acknowledge that.
River says Pro say I want to buy a spot on your network. I want to have a River says counter special. Welcome. But now we're having the you see, we're having the counter tour. So that's a great place to start. Well, thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, for a good show tonight. It's always Friday night debate, and we're going to be back next Friday. Thank you so much. Let me get your 39 seconds closing comments, and then we can draw down the curtains. We really want to thank our viewers for always being here. There are some people so loyal. We have people who they will watch even later, and they continue to follow. We really appreciate you supporting us. Let's get our closing comment. Let me start with Mrs. Moba.
Well, Dennis, thank you very much for the great show. On the discussion about guns, I would like to say people should stop linking the CPP or ANC or Mr. Cummins to the gun issue. Whoever sent a gun, whether they support Cummins or not, it does not mean that Cummins is aware of the guns or he support the idea of guns being sent to Liberia. We need to make sure that the investigation is given chance, even though the police, in my view, messed up the investigation because they were there playing with the arms and having all their fingerprints on that. On the VP issue, I seriously think Mr. Boyka, as an elderly person, he needs somebody who is more energized, educated, and knows how to work in the capacity as president. So when he making a decision, it should be based on that, even though he needs the number, but he's not going to just pick anybody because they're going to give him number. He can pick somebody who would do the job and then fight for the numbers. That's what I think. On the CPP, $70,000. I think Mr. Cummins need to show us some example because look at the party. We want to take the party to be like a government. So if something is wrong in the party, especially when he came up to say that Louis Brown and College should be Kula should be okay, Martin Kula should be responsible for whatever happened. I think there should be some action, not just saying they are responsible. Either you remove them temporarily until the investigation is done, and before putting them back, or you fire them if they are guilty. That's how you do it. Then we know that he's going to govern the country when we are is gone, and we want to make sure that the case is reported to the police, because we can't just blame the police for not doing anything if the case was not reported properly or follow up was not done with the police. So that is also important. He needs to take some action. On the Western cluster, I think it is also important for government officials to do their jobs. Stop overlapping your functions. That means when you're a senator, within your office for the agreements to come to you. Do not put yourself in the middle of those agreements, because it's polluting our country. You can't join foreigners to exploit your own country when the people are supposed to be relying on you to benefit. Because they got their hands in everything, so the individuals on the land, they remain poor. Our government, some of our government officials are the one that causing that poverty in the country, and it's all due to corruption. We need to stop. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kruman?
Dennis, thank you again for having me tonight. It was a very good discussion. We all desire change. A lot of us, we come on all these different platforms and talk about change and talk about change and talk about change. The only time we become mute about change is when we have some of our relatives and our friends that are caught with their hands in the cookie jar. Then, we start to find justifications for not having change. So I'm really hopeful. I mean, hopefully in the next 2 weeks, the president is supposed to be addressing the country, the parliament on the current state of the nation. Hopefully he will give us some kind of inspirational message about how much progress have been made, and not the same old rhetorics about economic, growth and employment opportunities and stuff like that. We want to see tangible delivery, and I'm hoping that 2023, this is the year that the Liberian people can make a conscious decision on moving the country forward. And I don't think George Weah is the answer to our plight. We need a new breed of leaders that can take us from this quagmire of failure and incompetence, gross incompetence. We need to move the country forward. To move it forward, we need to be able to look in our friends and our family faces and say, this is not your time, my man. It's time for us to get real people in charge to move this country forward. Thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you. Mr. Mame.
Yeah, I wanted to close on Western Cluster. Just to recap, President Weah authorized his Minister of Justice, Minister of Lands, Mines, and Energy Investment Commission, and Edwin Snow to sign an MOU that was not needed in the first place because Western Cluster has an active mineral development agreement, but to sign an MOU that allows Western Cluster to acquire mineral production license without meeting the basic requirement, without meeting the key requirements in the mineral development agreement. And I wanted to highlight those requirements and juxtapose that to what the MOU require for Western Cluster to receive mineral development agreement, for them to receive production license. The mineral development agreement that the previous administration signed gave preconditions that must be met before production license is awarded, because the production license is the trump card of the government. That's the last thing the government can give out its resources to people. So they set over 30 preconditions. But the few preconditions are important. One, it says before the government awards production license, the company should present a feasibility study report. That report must be approved, but prior to approval, the government must hire an independent evaluator to evaluate that report, and the government approve. In that report should include the following. One, that report should include a job and skills development plan That plan will tell you how much job the company will create, at what time, what percentage of that job Liberian will be able to acquire, and what skill they will develop over the period of 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years. That feasibility study report should present what they call the Environmental Restoration Funding Agreement. Because it's mining that are potential that will cause environmental problem. The previous administration says before you award the production license, the company must present a letter of credit that the government will hold. Just in case they commit any environmental issue, the government will draw on that money to go and address the issue. It's called pay as you go agreement. That's a precondition in the mineral development agreement. The mineral development agreement says you must present a project linkage plan and strategy on how your investment in the county will hire and use the services and goods of local vendors and local suppliers, so that you integrate your investment in the local economy. You must present that plan before you can get production license. You must sign pricing agreement with the government. That pricing agreement will state how the government will measure the market value of the product to be able to determine her royalty. You must set environmental plans. Those are just 5 of the over 30 requirements that needed to be met before Western Cluster received a production license. The government, before this government, did not give Western Cluster the production license because Western Cluster did not meet this agreement. The MOU was introduced to allow Western Cluster receive production license without meeting this agreement. What did the MOU say? The MOU says in section 5 that before Western Cluster even pay government debt, which is 5 million, it says before Western Cluster pays government debt, government must give Western Cluster the Class A license. Before Western Cluster can pay the debt to government must provide Western Cluster the Class A license, ignoring all the safeguards for the people job, for the environment, for government royalties, ignore all. The only reason why they did that was because of personal interest. That is why we continue to say President Weah is a good man. He plays soccer. He put Liberia on the map. The state we find our country in, he's not able, he's not capable to lead us. As much as we like him as our soccer icon, we cannot continue to risk the future of our country. Let's get him out. And by getting him out, we will be sending a message to the incoming leader that if you come and you don't perform, we'll take you out. That's why we save our country. We call on the people of Bombay to ask the government to withdraw Western Cluster production license until Western Cluster can meet all these conditions in the Mineral Development Agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. And talking about President Weah, thank you, Mr. Stephen Johnson, who made comments that President Weah had already outlined on the MICAD page his 6 years achievements, what he achieved, some major achievement made by the government under President Weah. Under health, the construction of Emory Hospital, the construction of 14 military hospitals, the vaccinated over 80% of Liberians. On education, the provision of free public university, free wire fees, youth development, construction of the Invisible Park, renovating SKD, and on and on and on and on. So you can visit the page for the MICAD, that's the Information Ministry, and you will see his 6 years accomplishment. Mr. Gibbon, I want you to have the last word because someone. Let me go to Glendy because Glendy, let me get your question, and Mr. Gibbon will get the last word.
It is so. What's the development with the summer camp stadium?
Renovation.
Renovation is oh my goodness, Lord have mercy. But anyways, it was a good show. I wanted to highlight there's someone who's I want to say also that in as much as we come here every now and then we get invited to come and be on FOL, I think I want to encourage all of us to see what we can do to support this network. It's a network with less drama. As much as Mr. Gilman maybe irritates a lot of people, we still are very cordial and respectful to one another. I love him. He's the highest of all propagandists in the entire world. He tops it all. But I think we need to do what we can to continue. I see that they always share. That's my closing is strictly about supporting FOL. They always share the flyer. So even no dollar is lost, no dime is lost. If you want to make a donation, I want to encourage you. I want to specifically call out Sam Wallow. He is always on. He is always writing.
Yep.
So Sam Wallow, I hope you've made your contribution to this broadcast. Change is the only constant variable that we have. But no matter whether we like it or not, change must occur. So I want to say thank you so much. I think, Dennis, we should do something about helping to raise funding and not just only pick up time, set up a time on your show. I want to encourage you and Anthony, call me on and we'll help raise some funding for FOL. I think we need to do that collectively. So please don't just keep doing the flyer. Let's set a time and come ask the people for some money, and I'll make the time to be on.
That's a telethon. That's telethon. Let's do that, Dennis.
Thank
have a platform like that. We call people and say, listen, you're on
Yes.
FOL right now. How much can you contribute? We start. The numbers keep showing. Let's just keep going. Let's do it.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's over to you, Mr. Gilman. You get the last word.
Mr. Gilman,
Mr. Gilman, we'll feel you now.
Mr. Gilman, I got one comment here. Sam Wallow said Mr. Gilman is a likable guy.
He is. He is. That is true.
Mr. Gilman, you get the last word.
Ladies and gentlemen, listen, I began with a prayer, and it behooves me to end with a prayer. The whole country, Liberia,
interrupted that.
And yeah, all the elderly, everybody, they're on pin and needle now, praying for the old man. They hope that he continues. Hopefully, by December he will feel good. We look
after the election, eh?
I want to thank Dr. George Manawia for being the new word now we use in magnanimous, for being a father to the nation by offering help to take the old man out of the country and help out. And even we will do it behind closed door. We pray for good health. We pray that he'll be able to come for the debate and all of these things. But that as they may be, President Weah, we expect him to be in the United States in March, coming back for an encore at the White House. And we look forward to meeting the president. We thank him for all the great things he has done since 1822. Like free education, college education to our students. We talk about paying for Wyatt. We're talking about in my Grand Bassa County, elevating our university from community college to a university. We got two major concessions that we keep in Grand Bassa County that are coming. We got a plywood company that is coming. We employ about 900 folks. We have a cement factory that's coming that will employ.
Talk about the mayonnaise too.
These are things that are coming.
And the dates from Qatar. You talk about that one there?
Mr. Krumah and Mr. Mame. What I like about Krumah, he said we need someone to take us forward. We don't want to go back, but then he said we should bring them back. He was there to kick him out. Mame was there to kick him out. Waka was there to kick him out. And he said, go forward, but bring us back. It doesn't make sense. So ladies and gentlemen, it was great. Let's raise some money for FOL. This is so good. Let us not do it for ourselves. Let's expand it to Liberia. And the only way we can do that, it costs money. We need to buy data. We need to pay employees. So if everybody chip in, now that your income tax is coming, if you chip in, if you put us in your will, give us $100 off your income tax, $500, one-time donation, $500. We are tax deductible. You can deduct it from your income tax next year. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being so cordial. We are all family here, and let's keep praying for the vice president.
Thank you. On that note, we want to close with our song that says, we are all Liberians. We thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and also thank our viewers and even those who will watch later. We are all Liberians, and we must do whatever it takes to make our country a glorious land of liberty. Have a good night, and God bless you.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Liberia.